After my rebirth, I divorced my regiment commander husband Phong Ben without hesitation to attend my dream university. In my past life, Phong Ben had neglected me completely while doting on his fallen comrade's widow, Gu Sik Hen. He gave over half his salary to Gu Sik Hen and her child. He even forcibly gave away the job that rightfully belonged to me to Gu Sik Hen. Even after Gu Sik Hen maliciously ordered her son to push me into the river, causing my miscarriage, he still defended that mother and child, speaking nothing but kind words for them. Later, when the mudslide struck, he abandoned me in danger to save them again, leaving me to die alone in the disaster. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the beginning of my marriage with Phong Ben. Having experienced life and death, I decided to step aside for Phong Ben's grand love story. The glaring red double happiness character burned my eyes as I opened them. My heart skipped a beat when I recognized every familiar piece of furniture around me. Against all odds, I'd been reborn, sent back to 1977, the year I married Phong Ben. In my previous life, we'd been introduced by Dad's old classmate Commander Yen during an arranged meeting. Phong Ben was tall, handsome, and striking. I fell head over heels for him at first sight, quickly tumbling into the love story I'd imagined, to marry Phong Ben. I gave up my chance to attend university and followed him to his military base, determined to be nothing but the perfect military wife. Phong Ben rarely smiled and remained distant toward me. I assumed it was just his personality and didn't think much of it. 3 months into our marriage, Phong Ben suddenly brought home a woman and her young child. Phong explained she was his fallen comrade's widow. He'd promised to look after them, without hesitation. I joined Phong in caring for Gu Sik Hen and her son Little Stone. Phong gave over half his salary to support them, and I never voiced a single complaint. Phong Ben gave Gu Sik Hen the accounting job that rightfully belonged to me. Though upset, I bit my tongue for his sake. Things escalated when Phong Ben started staying out night after night for Gu Sik Hen and her son. He'd spend entire nights fussing over Gu Sichen's minor cold while ignoring his own wife running a 104 degrees Fahrenheit fever. Every military-issued gift went to Gu Sichen's family. He'd take them shopping and dining, pitying their hard life while his own wife went neglected. Yet my lawful husband remains oblivious to my threadbare existence, wearing patched clothes from scrimping and saving. Bitterly, I brought this up twice with Phong Ben, only to be dismissed as petty-minded and unworthy of being a soldier's wife. Then Gu Sik Hen and Little Stone unexpectedly started ganging up on me. Gu Sik Hen began dropping hints about her childhood ties with Phong Ben, how she'd been his sweetheart all along. Phong Ben's care for her wasn't just comradeship, his heart belonged to her. Fuming, I confronted Phong Ben, only for him to call me filthy-minded and accuse me of making baseless accusations. Gu Sik Hen and her son started sabotaging me at every turn. After learning of my pregnancy, Gu manipulated Little Stone into pushing me, a non-swimmer, into the river, causing my miscarriage. Waking to news of losing our child, I was devastated. I'd assumed my regimental commander husband Phong Ben would stand by his wife and seek justice for his own flesh and blood. Little did I expect that Phong Ben completely dismissed my explanation. He berated me for being petty and jealous instead of considering the bigger picture, even accusing me of resorting to vile slander just to drive Gu Sik Hen and Xiaoshitu away. My reputation was utterly ruined because Phong Ben refused to take my side. Everyone in the compound pointed fingers at me, whispering how malicious and narrow-minded I was, unworthy of being Phong Ben's wife. For the longest time, I couldn't hold my head up in public. Later on, a landslide triggered a mud flow. In the midst of the disaster, I watched helplessly as Phong Ben saved Gu Sik Hen and her child first, even though they weren't in any real danger. Meanwhile, I was buried forever under the collapsed house, remembering the pain and despair of my death in my past life. Tears silently streamed down my face. How foolish of me, knowing full well that Gu Sik Hen was the unattainable love of his life, yet I stubbornly refused to change. I kept trying to thaw Phong Ben's heart, which was harder than stone. This lifetime, such things won't happen again. I'll cut all ties with Phong Ben and never look back. 3 days later, Phong Ben returned, travel-worn and weary, bringing Gu Sik Hen and her child, just as he had in our past life. Phong Ben walked in holding Little Stone's hand, with Gu Sik Hen following behind, the latter wrapped in Feng's military coat as if it were her second skin. The trio entered hand in hand like a family. Just as I stepped out of the bedroom after tidying up, our eyes met. The warmth in Phong Ben's smile instantly cooled. He addressed me formally, Lu Yanan. This is my fallen comrade's widow Gu Sik Hen and her son Little Stone. They'll be living with us from now on, I acknowledged with a hum. Meanwhile, Little Stone broke free from Fang's grip and began exploring the house with unself-conscious ease. He immediately headed straight for Feng Ben and my bedroom, exclaiming, "This room is gorgeous, I want to stay here with Mom." Without even taking off his shoes, he clambered onto our marital bed, leaving muddy footprints on the red bedsheet. Gu Sikhen gasped, "Goodness, this child has absolutely no manners." I nodded in agreement. Absolutely, a child this age should know better. Comrade Gu really needs to step up her parenting game. Feng Bin frowned disapprovingly at my words. "Watch your tone, he's just a child. Since when do adults pick fights with kids?" I replied coldly. "The child is 7 or 8, old enough to know right from wrong. If we don't teach him now, when should we? When he's grown." From our blind date to marriage, I'd always been meek and accommodating toward Feng Bin, never confronting him directly. His frown deepened as he stared at me. Gu Sikhen put on a pitiful act nearby. Bin, our little stone and I causing trouble. Maybe we should leave so we don't come between you and your wife." As Gu Sikhen spoke those words, Feng Bin's gaze toward me shifted noticeably. Forgetting to scold me, he gently reassured Gu Sikhen, "It's no trouble at all, don't hesitate. Since I promised to take care of you and Little Stone, I won't go back on my word. From now on, this is your home, you and Little Stone can stay here without worries." I stood motionless, staring intently at Feng Bin. He always spoke to me with icy formality, yet with Gu Sikhen he was tender and affectionate beyond measure. Is this the difference between love and indifference? What blindfolded me in my past life that I endured his neglect until it cost me my life? After comforting Gu Sikhen, Feng Bin finally noticed me standing there watching their intimate moment. He barked at me, "What are you standing around for? Get dinner ready." In my past life, I'd rushed to prepare dinner before Feng Bin even spoke, cooking up a whole feast. After Gu Sikhen and Little Stone ate their fill, I'd even heat bathwater and make their beds. How foolish I was back then. I actually bought Feng Bin's excuse that he was just helping Gu Sikhen and Little Stone out of noble revolutionary camaraderie. I even felt proud to have married such a supposedly principled man. Never imagined Feng Bin was just using noble causes as a front for his selfish desires. Feng Bin will never get another chance to manipulate me in this lifetime. A mocking smile curled my lips as I stared coldly at Feng Bin. Feng Bin froze momentarily, having never seen such an expression on my face before. He noticed something was off about me, but only because I'd been blindly obeying his every whim. Feng Bin quickly brushed aside that odd moment, furrowing his brows as he continued giving me orders. "I need to get them settled later. Make several dishes tonight. Consider it a welcome dinner. Sikhen can't handle spicy food, so keep the chili out." From our blind date to my love at first sight moment to our wedding, Feng Bin never once spoke a tender word to me. He never cared about me, let alone knew my preferences, yet he could recite every detail about Gu Sikhen. That's the difference between love and indifference. Even though I saw it coming, the pain in my heart was unavoidable. Feng Bin's attention made Gu Sikhen's eyes gleam with triumph. That was the smugness of being favored. Ignoring her smile, I calmly extended my hand toward Feng Bin. "We're out of groceries, give me some money. I'll buy rice, oil, and flour, plus some vegetables to prepare a welcome meal for Comrade Gu and her child." My words froze Feng Bin's expression. In our past life, he'd never cared about household matters. I've shouldered all household responsibilities alone, groceries, daily necessities, everything, so he could focus on his work without worries. Feng Bin allocated most of his salary to Gu Sikhen and her child, sent a portion to his parents and siblings, yet contributed nothing to our own household. Every single household expense fell entirely on my shoulders. 5. I've been closely observing Gu Sikhen and her child from the moment they stepped through our door. The mother and son were dressed head to toe in brand new outfits, undoubtedly all purchased by Feng Bin. In my past life, Gu Sikhen personally told me that Feng Bin gave her a substantial amount of money when he came to pick her up, along with buying numerous clothes for both her and Little Stone. Feng Bin didn't spend a single cent on our wedding. Everything from the ceremony items to the wedding candies were provided by my parents, worried about the hardships of military life. My elderly parents gave me their entire life savings, painstakingly saved penny by penny. When I left with Feng Bin, my heart belongs entirely to Feng Bin. I'd give him the shirt off my back. When Feng Bin gave his entire salary to Gu Sikhen and her child, I never complained. When he needed money to furnish their home, I didn't hesitate to dip into my parents' dowry savings. No fortune can withstand constant depletion. especially with Gu Sichen's bottomless appetite. She demands only the finest rice and flour for meals, plus constant snacks throughout the day. Feng Bin's meager stipend could never sustain Gu Sichen and her son's extravagant spending, not to mention Feng Bin still had a sick mother and young siblings to support at home. In my past life, I drained my entire savings for Feng Bin without a single regret. This time around, I won't be spending a single penny on him. Not only won't I contribute a single penny, but I've also prepared a grand surprise for Feng Bin. I don't object to Feng Bin personally caring for Gu Sichen out of love, provided he uses his own money, between buying medicine for his ailing mother, covering his siblings' tuition and living expenses, and supporting Gu Sichen and her child. His salary is clearly stretched too thin. In my past life, I voluntarily handed over my paycheck to please Feng Bin and even poured my parents' hard-earned savings into him without hesitation. Only then could he fulfill his promise to care for Gu Sichen and her child. I refused to be the fool this time. Knowing he'd drain his savings to impress Gu Sichen, I deliberately came empty-handed. Let's see how Feng Bin treats his sweetheart. Every penny Feng Bin had went to Gu Sichen and her kid. What could he possibly spare for me? Too embarrassed to admit his poverty in front of Gu Sichen, he had no choice but to personally buy rice, flour, oil, and vegetables. Broke as he was, he had to put everything on credit. Tight on cash, Feng Bin could only bring back basic staples like rice, oil, flour, and simple vegetables, a far cry from the lavish feasts he'd prepared for Gu Sichen and her child in their past life. He hastily threw together a modest meal for them. This meal was just the appetizer. A real surprise awaited Feng Bin. Only after dinner would the real arrangements for Gu Sichen and her child begin. In their previous life, Feng Bin had housed Gu Sichen and her child under the same roof with us. I gave Gu Sichen and her child all the carefully prepared beds, wardrobes, and even my wedding quilts and bedsheets. I cooked them 3 meals a day like a housemaid while also cleaning their place, yet Gu Sichen still wasn't satisfied. She kept provoking me behind my back, time and again. She even put her son Little Stone up to harming me. If Feng Bin was a traitor, then this mother-son duo were downright heartless monsters. I'd never pour my heart out for these ungrateful snakes again like I did in my past life. The responsibility of settling Gu Sichen and her son fell to Feng Bin. After dinner, I cleared the table and washed the dishes in the kitchen. Feng Bin and Gu Sichen were left alone with their child in complete privacy. Feng Bin intended to accommodate Gu Sichen and their child in the guest room, just as he had done in their previous life, but when he pushed open the guest room door, Feng Bin was stunned. The guest room stood completely empty, not a single piece of furniture remained. Feng Bin rushed into the kitchen in a panic, demanding, "Where's all the furniture from the guest room?" I gave it away. I turned to him with a beaming smile. 5. I gathered all the unused beds, wardrobes, and bedding to donate to families in need. As the regiment commander's wife, I've got to set an example. Can't afford to fall behind. Since you're so concerned about Comrade Gu, I couldn't just sit around being unhelpful. Feng Bin's face showed more than just shock. There was something else entirely. Dream on if you think I'll let Gu Sichen use the bed and furniture I paid for, or the dowry quilts I painstakingly prepared. The first thing I did after rebirth was give away all the wedding furniture and spare quilts I'd prepared, along with the clothes and shoes meant for Feng Bin. I've decided to make a clean break with Feng Bin through divorce, so he won't be burdened with taking care of Gu Sichen anymore. So in this life, if Feng Bin wants to provide Gu Sichen with a good life, he'll have to do it on his own. Feng Bin's expression was hard to read. He lowered his voice and demanded, "You gave everything away. How am I supposed to provide for Sichen and her child?" I shot back. "How was I supposed to know you needed to provide for someone? You never mentioned this to me." Feng Bin was speechless. It was something he had never considered. In my past life, I centered everything around him and did whatever he said. Of course he could act on his own without consulting me. With me backing him up, Feng Bin had nothing to fear. But now I refused to be his cash cow anymore. Feng Bin realized he wasn't as capable as he thought. Taking care of Gu Sichen and her child was no easy task. Feng Bin knew damn well his pockets were empty. How could he possibly provide for his beloved and her child without money? He yelled at me furiously. "How could you give everything away without asking me? Is this any way to live?" Ignoring Feng Bin's grim expression, I declared righteously, "Isn't this exactly what you told me to do?" Feng Bin was baffled. "Lu Yanan, explain yourself. When did I ever tell you to give away our furniture?" You said I was being extravagant and causing a bad impression when I bought that furniture. After thinking it over, I realized you were absolutely right. I went all out to show my sincerity in marrying Fongbin, putting my heart into decorating our home, but Fongbin couldn't care less about my feelings. When I painstakingly bought furniture, he gave me the cold shoulder, accusing me of having low ideological awareness and only caring about comfort. Yet all the furniture and bedding I bought ended up benefiting Gu Sikhen and her child. It's wrong when I use these things, but perfectly justified when Gu Sikhen does. How dare he be such a hypocrite? Watching Fongbin's utterly horrified expression, I pressed on. Didn't you always preach about mutual aid and neighborly love? Sister Lee's a martyr's widow, raising 3 kids alone while working full-time. She's exactly who needs our help most. Fongbin was left speechless by my words. Gu Sikhen is a perfectly capable young man raising a child with generous subsidies, yet Fongbin still fusses over him under the guise of wartime camaraderie, insisting on bringing him under his wing. I'll shut him up by bringing up Widow Lee, an actual war martyr's family member who genuinely needs help. Let's see what excuses he'll make then. Fongbin had nothing to say. Any rebuttal would mean contradicting his own principles. He'd never shoot himself in the foot like that. Gu Sikhen overheard every word of my argument with Fongbin outside. She stepped into the kitchen, sizing up Fongbin and me with a flicker in her eyes before launching into her signature manipulative act. "Bin, did you quarrel with Comrade Liu? Is she upset that you're taking care of Little Stone and me?" I smiled sweetly at him. "Of course not. I'm delighted Fongbin could help you both, and you're most welcome here. It's just that he fetched you without informing me. I'd already donated the guest room furniture to martyrs' families in greater need. We're currently discussing how to accommodate you." Gu Sikhen, never one to miss an opportunity, immediately put on her pitiful act. "Bin, if this is causing you trouble, Little Stone and I should just leave." Fongbin couldn't bear to let Gu Sikhen leave and quickly reassured her. "Don't worry. I've got this." As he spoke, he grabbed me and pulled me outside. "Have you no sense of propriety? Why would you blurt out such things in front of guests?" I looked at him with a wry smile. "I was just stating facts, wasn't I? I did give away the furniture, and with only 1 bed left for 4 people now, we'll have to figure something out." Fongbin paced restlessly on the spot, exactly mirroring the predicament he was currently facing. He wanted to take care of his sweetheart, but couldn't afford furniture. Even daily groceries were bought on credit. How could furniture be purchased the same way? With no place to borrow money and no desire to ask others, his thoughts quickly turned to my savings. "Yanan, didn't you have some money set aside? Maybe you could." "I'm broke. I've spent nearly all my savings on the wedding, the candies, banquets. Every single wedding expense came out of my pocket. You know damn well you didn't contribute a cent." 5. Having laid it out this bluntly, Fongbin's pride wouldn't let him ask me for money again. Playing the understanding wife, I suggested, "How about this? I'll move to the company dormitory so Comrade Gu and her son can stay in our marital home." This was the perfect solution. Fongbin could resolve the situation without spending extra. I even get to spend every waking moment with my sweetheart to nurture our relationship. I've gone above and beyond for him. I thought he'd be all for it, but to my surprise, he hesitated. This doesn't seem right, does it? We just got married. People will talk if you move in now." "Oh, so he remembers we're newlyweds, and he's worried about gossip now. Why didn't you spare me a single thought in our past life? Why treat me with such cruelty?" In the end, Fongbin wouldn't let me move out and made alternative arrangements. He and I slept on floor mats in the guest room, giving our bridal suite to Gu Sikhen and her child. He's perfectly content suffering hardships for his beloved. But I refuse to endure this. I've got to figure out a way to move out. Fongbin went to the military barracks to borrow bedding and came back to make a floor pallet. I volunteered to sleep on the floor in the guest room, where I could hear Gu Sikhen's son Little Stone making a ruckus next door. Dinner was simple without any lavish dishes, which made Little Stone quite grumpy. "Didn't you promise there'd be treats and fun stuff here? Where is everything, Mommy? I want candy and cookies." Gu Sikhen was comforting Little Stone while Fongbin couldn't bear to leave the mother and child. He went out again and returned with a bag of candy and another of cookies. Seeing the sweets finally quiet Little Stone down, I smirked inwardly. That mother-son duo has an insatiable appetite. I'm afraid Fongbin won't be able to handle them in the long run. During our evening break, Fongbin unexpectedly brought up the matter of Gu Sikhen and her son, Yanan. Are you upset that I took in sick hen and her son? I only helped them out of pity, a widow and her child with no one to care for them. Don't overthink it. I'm not overthinking anything, I replied coldly. I scoffed inwardly. There are countless widows and orphans in this world. Why single out Gu Sick Hen and her child for his charity? Feng Bin seemed relieved. Glad you're not overthinking it. Sichen's struggling as a single mother. Everything costs money, and she's unemployed right now. I plan to give her half my salary until she finds work. No problem. I kept playing along. Even if Feng Bin gave Sick Hen his entire paycheck, what's it to me? It's not like I need his money anyway. Feng Bin seemed visibly uncomfortable with how accommodating I was being. He actually reached out to hug me, but I shoved him away. I'm not feeling well today. His face froze in shock when I rejected him. I sneered at his stunned expression. To Feng Bin, gracing me with marital intimacy was probably some grand favor, but that was my past self, the version of me who loved him desperately and let him waste my years. I don't want him in my life anymore, so how could I possibly let him touch me? That night, Feng Bin and I lay back to back with a wide gap between us, each lost in our own thoughts. I could sense Feng Bin's restlessness as he tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Meanwhile, I quickly drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I got up and cooked congee with pickles. Little Stone and Gu Sick Hen weren't pleased when they saw the plain congee and pickles on the table. Little Stone threw a tantrum, demanding malted milk and fried dough sticks instead, though Gu Sick Hen remained silent. His lack of intervention spoke volumes. In our past life, Little Stone would order breakfast every morning, and I'd move heaven and earth to fulfill his requests. This lifetime holds no connection to me. I turn a deaf ear to it all. Seeing my indifference, Feng Bin had no choice but to make another trip to buy food for the mother and child. Meanwhile, I got ready and headed to the office, returning to my place during lunch break to fetch some things. As I was about to push the door open, I heard the sound of pebbles inside. How could it be gone? She definitely had so many candies and malted milk, several jars of it, and there was plenty of cash in her suitcase. I remember the money was clearly stashed in the lining of that red leather case. I froze mid-step, startled. In my past life, my bedroom really did have piles of candies and multiple jars of malted milk. All my money was indeed kept in the lining of that red suitcase. Just because I knew Feng Bin would bring that mother and child over after my rebirth, I'd already moved all my belongings to the company dormitory. So how could Little Stone possibly know I had candy, malted milk powder, and cash? How did he even know my money was hidden in the secret compartment of that red suitcase? Does he have psychic powers? Could it be that he was reborn, just like me? I thought to myself, stopping my hand from pushing the door open. Gu Sichen's voice followed. Could it be that you're remembering it wrong? I'm not mistaken. This is exactly how it was arranged in my past life. I ate all those candies and malted milk, and secretly took a few bills. That woman Lu Yanin was so foolish, she never even counted the money. It wasn't until I had taken too much that she finally noticed. When she told Feng Bin that money was missing, he just scolded her. 5, Little Stone said smugly. Mom, we've got to strike first this time. Feng Bin's always been on our side anyway. We must find that money and take every last cent. Gu Sick Hen replied, money's trivial. Didn't you say Feng Bin gets promoted later? Our target isn't the money, it's Feng Bin himself. Exactly, Mom. For our future happiness, you'd better work fast to secure Feng Bin. First we need to get rid of Lu Yanin. That woman's clingier than a plaster. No matter how Feng Bin treats her, she won't divorce him. We'll have to play dirty to make him dump her. The sound of rummaging came from inside. I turned and left without entering. Ever since my rebirth, I've been determined to divorce Feng Bin. I even had the paperwork ready. Never expected such a delightful surprise waiting for me. Little Stone actually got reborn too. Now he's scheming to push Gu Sick Hen and Feng Bin together early while coming after me hard. This plays right into my hands. Guess I'll just sit back and enjoy the show these mother and son are about to put on. Several peaceful days passed as I maintained my invisible presence, deliberately ignoring Feng Bin's attentiveness towards Gu Sick Hen and her child. I was morbidly curious how this mother-son duo would frame me, in my past life. My love for Feng Bin made me bitterly jealous of his care for Gu Sick Hen. This time around, I felt nothing. I didn't even bat an eye when Gu Sick Hen summoned Feng Bin away at night. Moreover, I made sure never to be alone with them, leaving them no opportunity to scheme against me. My cautiousness drove Gu Sick Hen and her son to desperation. I could practically see steam coming out of their ears. Finally, they couldn't resist taking reckless action. That day, Phong Bin, Gu Sik Hen, Little Stone and I were all home. As usual, I was cooking in the kitchen with Phong Bin lending a hand. Later, Gu Sik Hen coquettishly called Phong Bin away. Minutes later, Little Stone suddenly burst into the kitchen. He grabbed the boiling kettle and poured the water over himself. As the scalding water cascaded down, Little Stone let out a blood-curdling scream. "It burns. Aunt Lou scalded me with boiling water." Little Stone's movements flowed with terrifying fluidity. I stood frozen. Horrified by his self-harm, Gu Sik Hen burst in immediately, clutching Little Stone while running out hysterically, sobbing, "Lu Yanan, what has my child ever done to you? How could you scald him so viciously?" Then it dawned on me, this mother-son duo had conspired to frame me using self-inflicted injuries. I could only laugh at their pathetic scheme, exactly as Gu Sik Hen and Little Stone had intended. Phong Binren soon came charging in too, yelling accusations at me before rushing Little Stone to the hospital amid Gu Sichen's theatrical wailing. Little Stone was hospitalized for treatment, while news of how I viciously scalded him with boiling water spread like wildfire through the compound. The whole neighborhood was buzzing with gossip about me, pointing fingers whenever I passed by. Phong Bin returned the next morning and immediately confronted me about the cruel act against Little Stone. "Lu Yanan, how could you do this to Little Stone? His injury has nothing to do with me. He burned himself. At least come up with a believable lie. Do you really expect me to buy this self-inflicted burn story?" Phong Bin looked at me with disappointment. "I've noticed how you've changed lately, your coldness toward me, how you never care about my affairs. Isn't it all because you're jealous of Sicheng and his mother? How many times must I tell you? I'm only helping them out of comradeship." 5. I couldn't care less about whatever's between you and Gu Sicheng. I've never been jealous, let alone capable of doing something so deranged for your sake. "So how did Little Stone get hurt? Tell me why he got scalded by boiling water," I replied coldly. "He brought it upon himself." I never expected Phong Bin to believe me. After all, in my past life, Gu Sik Hen and his mother framed me countless times, and he never once stood by my side. I couldn't be bothered to explain further. If Gu Sik Hen and his mother wanted me to divorce Phong Bin, I'd simply give them what they wanted. Phong Bin kicked over a chair in rage, calling me stubborn as a mule. I watched Phong Bin's furious outburst with calm composure. Seeing my indifference, Phong Bin issued an ultimatum: "No matter what, you're in the wrong this time. Go apologize to Sicheng and his mother at the hospital. If they forgive you, I'll let bygones be bygones." I scoffed. "I won't apologize, not even if hell freezes over." "How long are you going to keep being this stubborn? Can't you see this is the best solution?" Phong Bin kept pushing me to apologize, but how could I? I was waiting for him to bring up divorce first, yet he never mentioned it, just kept insisting I apologize. I'd had enough. Enough talk, let's get a divorce. "What?" Phong Bin stared at me in shock. "You want a divorce?" "Exactly. How could someone as vile and shameless as me ever deserve to be your wife? Let's just end things here and go our separate ways." "You're impossible. Did you think marrying me was as simple as saying I do and divorce was just a whim? This is a military marriage. It's not that straightforward." Phong Bin actually resisted divorcing me. Maybe my mention of it caught him off guard. He stormed off angrily, warning me before leaving. "Lu Yanan, I don't want to hear the word divorce from you ever again." I'm completely baffled by Phong Bin's refusal to divorce. I just can't fathom why he won't agree to it. After all I've conceded to him, why won't he just take this opportunity to go along with my request? I've stopped trying to understand Phong Bin's motives, the situation being what it is. I simply can't stay in this household any longer. That very night, I moved into the dormitory. From this moment on, I'm cutting all ties with Phong Bin. Moving into the dorm will let me focus on studying to retake the college entrance exams. In my past life, I gave up my chance at college by marrying Phong Bin. This rebirth came a few months too late. I still missed my college opportunity, but I've got another shot at this. Right now, I need to prepare for the exams again, juggling work and exam prep. I haven't stepped foot in the home I shared with Phong Bin this whole time. I thought Phong Bin would appreciate me tactfully staying away while he cultivated his relationship with Gu Sik Hen. To my surprise, he actually came asking me to move back in. I stood my ground and refused, dead set on getting divorced. Left with no options, Phong Bin could only walk away in frustration. A few days later, Gu Sik Hen came looking for me. She showed up at my workplace during office hours. Clutching me with crocodile tears, she wailed, "Comrade Liu, how could you be so heartless? After all this time, you haven't even apologized to my little Shirtu. He's been hospitalized with burns because of you." Gu Sikhen was truly vicious. She kept shrilly broadcasting the story of Shitu's burns, smearing my reputation with false accusations. Ever since Gu Sikhen started spreading rumors, the way my colleagues look at me has completely changed. Everyone saying never judge by appearances. Who would have thought someone like me could do something so vicious and shameless? The next day, my supervisor called me in. "Comrade Liu, Fongbin came to see us. We hope you'll return to domestic life. As compensation, your position will be transferred to Gu Sikhen. In my past life, Fongbin gave my job to Gu Sikhen, and now history repeats itself. I'm neither surprised nor upset. After all, I'd already decided to leave Fongbin for college. This job was never meant to last." I submitted my resignation to management, moved out of the staff dorm, and rented an apartment to focus on exam prep. The day after I quit, Gu Sikhen took over my accounting position at the office. Without hesitation, I quietly filed the divorce papers and refocused on studying for the college entrance exams. I thought life would continue peacefully until Fongbin and I went our separate ways after the divorce. Little did I expect to run into Fongbin's mother on my way to dinner. Spotting me, Fongbin's mother demanded bluntly, "Liu Yanan, why haven't you sent money home this month?" I looked at Fongbin's visibly furious mother and said, "Auntie, you should ask Fongbin about the money transfers. He handles all the household finances. Fongbin's on assignment and I can't reach him, so I had to come to you. Listen here, Liu Yanan, before you married into our family, Fongbin sent money home every month. Why did the payments stop after your wedding? Are you pocketing the money he sends us? This is a complete false accusation. I haven't seen a single penny since marrying Fongbin. Before Fongbin got involved with Gu Sikhen, he probably did send money to his family. After I married into the family, I voluntarily took on the responsibility of sending money home. Now that I've stopped sending money, Fongbin actually neglects his own parents and siblings. Oh, I forgot. It's not that he doesn't want to support them, but that he simply can't. After all, every penny of his goes to Gu Sikhen and her child, Fongbin's mother. Unaware of the truth, glared at me and shouted, "Hand over the money now. I need it for my medical treatment." I've known since forever that Fongbin's mother was unreasonable. Ever since I married Fongbin, she's acted all high and mighty, bragging everywhere about how I'm the one chasing after her precious son. Later Fongbin reassigned my job to Gu Sikhen. With no income, she started badmouthing me everywhere, calling me lazy and riddled with vices. Even when she was hospitalized and I tirelessly cared for her, emptying bedpans, bathing her, she showed me zero gratitude. Yet she dotes on Gu Sikhen, never missing a chance to praise her and her child whenever they meet. She'd even bring them homegrown eggs, vegetables, and fruits, while I, her actual daughter-in-law, never crossed her mind. 5. In my past life, I endured her bullying for Fongbin's sake, bending over backwards to fulfill her every demand, but this time around, she won't get off so easily. I replied coolly, "I've never spent a single cent of Fongbin's money. You've got the wrong person. Don't give me that crap. If you didn't use his money, then who did? Then you'll have to ask Fongbin himself. Why don't you go ask him directly?" "I won't go to him. I'm coming to you. As my daughter-in-law, it's your sacred duty to support your in-laws." Fongbin's mother started making a scene right there on the street. She knew I valued my reputation, knew how much I loved Fongbin, and was certain I'd cave to her demands for his sake. But she overplayed her hand. I completely ignored her tantrum, calmly walked away and left her standing there. I went back to my rented apartment to continue studying, and didn't put my textbooks away until evening. My stomach was rumbling, so I decided to head to a nearby state-run restaurant for a bowl of noodles for dinner. I never expected to run into Sisterly there. Ever since I gave all my wedding items to Sisterly, she's been exceptionally warm towards me. She took my hand and said, "Yanan, why haven't I seen you back home lately? I'm swamped with work." "Don't get so caught up in work that you neglect your family," Sisterly said pointedly. I just smiled without responding. She took my hand. "You're such a good girl with such a kind heart. I simply can't stand by and watch Fongbin treat you this way. It's downright bullying. You've been through so much lately." "It's alright, Sisterly, really, I'm fine. How could you not feel wronged? Your mother-in-law came to make a scene, didn't she? Let me tell you, it was Gu Sikhen who put her up to it. I heard her telling your mother-in-law that Fongbin gave all his money to you, that you're loaded, and she should demand it from you." What? I froze. That woman Gu Sik Hen is utterly shameless, stirring up trouble again. Enough is enough. I backed down this far and she still isn't satisfied, then don't blame me for what comes next. I've decided to go back and settle this matter once and for all. After dinner, I returned to the marital home I shared with Fong Bin, only to find his mother having dinner with Gu Sik Hen and her son. The Gu mother-son duo looked visibly displeased at my return, while Fong Bin's mother remarked with sarcasm, "Well, look who finally decided to grace us with her presence. Since you're here, you might as well hand over the medical expenses you owe me, and make it quick." I looked at Fong Bin's mother expressionlessly. "I don't have any money for you." "What? No money for me? Where did you spend all the money?" "I'm telling you, Lu Yanan, if you don't give me money today, don't blame me." Fong Bin's mother was a force to be reckoned with. In my past life, when she made a scene, I wouldn't dare say a word, only enduring it to keep the peace. But today, I wasn't here to keep the peace. I raised my voice. "I didn't get a single cent of your son's money, so I really don't have any to give you." "Are you kidding me, Lu Yanan? You were the one begging to marry my son back then. You promised to take care of our whole family, and now you're going back on your word." I remained silent against Fong Bin's mother's accusations. She'd always thought me weak and easy to bully. My silence only confirmed her belief that I was guilty. She kept demanding money, and when I ignored her, she finally threw a tantrum. Heavens, what did I do to deserve this? A daughter-in-law with no filial piety. She's heartlessly pocketed my son's money meant for my treatment, and now she has the nerve to play dumb when confronted. I demand answers today. Fong Bin's mother started shrieking at the top of her lungs. Her combativeness was astonishing. Within moments, her booming voice had drawn everyone in the courtyard over. It was dinner time, so everyone was home. As the crowd gathered, Gu Sichen's face flickered with panic. She tried to talk Fong Bin's mother down, but I wasn't about to give her the chance. I said bluntly in front of everyone, "Old woman, your screaming won't change a thing. I've got no money, and I haven't spent a single cent of your son's. You can shout till the heavens fall. It makes no difference." My words sent Fong Bin's mother into an even wilder rage. "You ungrateful wretch, you promised to take care of me, but now that you've married my son, you're going back on your word." "It's not that I'm going back on my word. I genuinely don't have the money." I sighed. "I made that promise thinking I could support you with my job, but now that I've lost it, where am I supposed to get the money?" Fong Bin's mother, unaware that I had lost my job, gasped in surprise. "You lost your job? How could that happen when everything was fine? Did you get fired for making a mistake?" "I didn't make any mistake. Fong Bin gave my job to Comrade Gu for no reason, letting her take my position." Fong Bin's mother immediately turned to Gu Sik Hen. "You never told me about this." Gu Sik Hen hadn't expected me to confront her directly about taking my job. She immediately defended herself. "I didn't take Comrade Lu's position. She got fired for her own misconduct." "Exactly what misconduct are you accusing me of?" I stared at Gu Sik Hen and enunciated each word. "Tell me, did I shamelessly seduce a married man, live off his money, squat in his house, or did I frame someone with dirty tricks, or steal their job through underhanded means?" As I ripped off the veneer of politeness, murmurs spread through the crowd. "True, Comrade Lu was doing fine at work. Why'd she suddenly lose her job?" "That's because she attacked my son. Look how badly his hands and feet were scalded." Gu Sik Hen was trying to frame me using those stone-burning incidents. I scoffed coldly. If I were truly that vicious, would I have let others steal what's rightfully mine? Exactly. Don't wrong an innocent person. I know Comrade Lu's character well, though she hasn't been with us long. She's shown nothing but kindness since joining our family. Sisterly was the first to speak up for me. Knowing my family's difficulties, Comrade Lu often brought us things and helped take care of my family. She's so kind. She's absolutely not the kind of person you're making her out to be. 5. Yes, I think Comrade Lu is a wonderful person too. She's given me quite a lot and helped me out from time to time. Everyone chimed in to defend me, with some even asking Gu Sik Hen, "You're a widow with a child who kicked out the man's wife, moved into his home, and lives off his hospitality. Don't you have any sense of propriety?" "Exactly. Taking over someone's job and slandering them. What kind of person does that? Anyone with an ounce of decency wouldn't dare pull such a stunt." Everyone rushed to defend me, covering my face pitifully. I said, "Please don't blame Comrade Gu. She's had it hard too. The childhood bond she shares with Fong Bin. That kind of lifelong connection isn't something ordinary people can understand." Bullshit. No bond excuses such blatant boundary crossing. A single man and woman living together, As if nothing would happen, amidst the heated discussions, Fongbin returned just in time from his mission. His face darkened at the crowd gathered outside his door. "What are you all doing here?" Spotting Fongbin returning, I immediately confronted him. Perfect timing. "Your mother's accusing me of pocketing your money with no conscience while withholding it from her. Now tell her in front of everyone, have I ever taken a single cent from you? From our wedding till now, you've never given me a penny of your salary, so where exactly has your money been going?" Cornered by my public interrogation, Fongbin was utterly humiliated. "We'll discuss this at home, no need to discuss this later. Let's settle it right here in front of your mother and the neighbors. Did I ever use your money?" Fongbin couldn't lie. "No." "Then where did your money go? Who's been getting your work allowances?" Fongbin's mother pressed on, unconvinced and thinking her son was just siding with me. Fongbin remained silent, so I picked up the conversation. "Fongbin did mention this to me. He took pity on Comrade Gu being a widow with no support, saying he'd share half his salary with her and her child. He must have given her the money by now, right? Am I correct, Comrade Gu?" Gu Sikhen remained silent. There was no way she could talk her way out of this now. Fongbin's mother looked from Gu Sikhen to me, then pointed accusingly at Gu. "You've been using my Fongbin's salary. What gives you the right?" "What right?" "Why, the right of being Fongbin's sweetheart, of course." Fongbin's mother was furious, glaring at Gu Sikhen with accusatory eyes. Fongbin busied himself mediating, pulling people inside the house. With my task completed, I turned and left. That night, amid Fongbin's mother's commotion, I publicly exposed Gu Sikhen and Fongbin's shameful secret. Everyone knew about Fongbin and Gu Sichen's improper relationship. They knew Fongbin and Gu Sikhen were living alone together as unmarried adults, while forcing me, his wife, to move out. All sorts of rumors started flying around. The scandal ruined Fongbin's reputation completely, and even his military superiors summoned him for disciplinary talks. Fongbin still tried to cover it up, shifting the blame onto his mother and me. He claimed we were being unreasonable and misunderstood his care for Gu Sikhen and her child. In the end, I filed for divorce myself, which confirmed the rumors of his infidelity. Furious, Fongbin came to my rented place again. "Lu Yanan, stop this nonsense. Do you have any idea how much damage you're causing me? How many times must I tell you? There's nothing inappropriate between me and Sikhen. I couldn't care less about your affair with Gu Sikhen. I'm filing for divorce no matter what. This marriage is over." My stance was unshakable, yet Fongbin inexplicably brought Gu Sikhen to justify himself to me. Malice flashed in Gu Sichen's eyes, but she swallowed her pride and spoke sweetly to maintain her facade before Fongbin. "Comrade Lu, you've got it all wrong. Fongbin and I are completely innocent. Please don't let this misunderstanding lead to irreversible consequences." I remained adamant about the divorce, leaving Fongbin no choice but to compromise. "Fine. I'll send Sicheng and her son home. Will that convince you?" When Gu Sicheng heard Fongbin was sending them away, her face twisted like she'd swallowed something vile. I knew she wouldn't take this lying down. After all, I'd personally overheard Xiaoshita plotting with Sicheng to marry Fongbin. Sicheng would never let Fongbin go. True enough, though she agreed to leave with her son, that very night something scandalous happened. Fongbin and Gu Sikhen got caught red-handed. Many witnesses saw Gu Sikhen and Fongbin together. Neighbors reportedly heard Little Stone wailing in the middle of that night. When they went to check, they found the child had fallen in the courtyard. Little Stone was wailing loudly, yet neither Gu Sikhen nor Fongbin showed up. Everyone had no choice but to carry Little Stone and push open the door to find Gu Sikhen, only to witness Fongbin and Gu Sikhen in a compromising state of undress. The scandal blew up spectacularly. Caught red-handed by so many witnesses, Fongbin and Gu Sikhen had no way to deny it. Fongbin was summoned by his superiors for disciplinary action and suspended pending review, while Gu Sikhen refused to leave, demanding an explanation from him. Fongbin had no choice but to divorce me and marry Gu Sikhen. The day our divorce was finalized, I cried tears of joy, freed from Fongbin in this lifetime. I'll never relive my past suffering, no more torment, abandonment, or premature death. I'm going to attend my dream university and walk a path completely different from my previous life. I packed my bags and returned to my parents' home. When they learned about my divorce, they didn't blame me but instead comforted me and encouraged me to start anew. With my parents' support, I focused on preparing for the college entrance exams and achieved outstanding results, ultimately getting admitted to my dream university. College life kept me busy yet fulfilled. filling me with boundless energy. I put all past grievances behind me and threw myself wholeheartedly into my studies. After graduating from university, I volunteered to work in the countryside for experience. The organization assigned me to frontline work, helping the public with their problems. To my surprise, the first case I handled involved Fongbin's mother and Gu-sik Hen. After 4 years apart, both Fongbin's mother and Gu-sik Hen had changed dramatically. Gu-sik Hen was dressed in plain clothes with patches, her face no longer rosy and bright but weathered and cracked from years of hard labor. She was shoved in by Fongbin's mother. Fongbin's mother was hurling vile insults, calling her a whore and a slut. When she suddenly saw me, her curses caught in her throat, her eyes widened in disbelief. Lu Yanan, is that you? What are you doing here? After learning that I served as a mediation officer here. Fongbin's mother launched into a relentless tirade against Gu-sik Hen. That lazy slut shamelessly seduced my son back then, getting him discharged from the military for their filthy affair. Now he can't even hold down a proper job. That good-for-nothing hussy never lifted a finger after marrying my Fongbin, just mooching off us with her bratty bastard child. My son spoils her, but I won't tolerate it. Now she's even stolen my grain money for that little bastard. Fongbin's mother hurled furious accusations at Gu-sik Hen, who fired back with equal venom in their heated exchange. I went through hell and high water to stop them from cursing at each other. Though I managed to calm them down, they showed no appreciation. The mediation went nowhere, and they stormed off still hurling insults. 5. I stared in shock as the two left, spewing vulgarities with every step. A colleague handed me some water, saying, "This family's issues are beyond fixing. Don't waste your energy." "Why?" I asked. My colleague began to explain, and then I got the general idea of what had happened. After Fongbin and Gu-sik Hen got married, they did enjoy a period of loving days together, but life isn't a performance, and it wasn't long before Gu-sik Hen showed her true colors. Unlike me, she wouldn't tolerate Fongbin's mother for his sake, nor let him contribute his entire salary to household expenses. Gu-sik Hen wanted complete control over Fongbin's paycheck, refusing to spare a single cent. Fongbin's mother was no pushover, with a whole family depending on that money. She constantly clashed with Gu-sik Hen over finances. Caught between them, Fongbin was torn. Eventually, during a mission, the violent feud between his mother and Gu-sik Hen destabilized him, leading to catastrophic command decisions. Fongbin messed up big time, and the military leadership was deeply disappointed in him, ultimately punishing him. Gu-sik Hen and Little Stone were daydreaming about Fongbin's promotion and fortune, hoping to reap the benefits he'd bring them. The outcome took them completely by surprise. Instead of getting promoted, Fongbin was discharged and sent home empty-handed. Gu-sik Hen was furious, constantly picking fights with Fongbin day after day. She got into a physical altercation with Fongbin's mother. Fongbin's mother didn't put up with her either, and the two would frequently come to blows. During one particularly violent escalation, both sides grabbed sticks and weapons for a fierce confrontation. Fongbin's siblings rushed to their mother's aid, and Little Stone joined Gu-sik's side. The brawl escalated quickly with neither party holding back. The violent clash ended with Little Stone losing an eye, leaving him permanently disabled. Hearing my colleague recount the story, I'd be lying if I said it didn't give me grim satisfaction. Memories of past betrayals and humiliations flashed vividly before me. It's not that I never considered revenge, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth the effort. Karma caught up with them eventually. I didn't lift a finger before heaven itself couldn't tolerate Gu-sik Hen and his mother's shamelessness. The reborn Little Stone believed Fongbin would rise to power and provide them with a life of luxury, so he began scheming against both me and Fongbin without hesitation. They thought knowing the outcome gave them free rein, never realizing that justice ultimately lies in the hearts of the people. Little Stone and Gu-sik Hen believed Fongbin's high-ranking position was a foregone conclusion, yet they failed to consider that everything in this world has two sides. Their gamble backfired, leaving no room for redemption. I later mediated several more conflicts between Gu-sik Hen and Fongbin's mother. The efforts proved futile. Their rift was inevitable. Gu-sik Hen came to see me when I was preparing to return to the city after rural work. "You're reborn too, aren't you?" I said coldly. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Stop pretending, Lu Yanan. You must have been reborn. You're completely different from your past life. Last time you slaved away selflessly for Fongbin's family, but now you've smartly distanced yourself early on." I just stared at her icily, noting the swollen red slap mark still visible on Gu Sichen's face. Do you know what happened after you died last time? Fongbin got promoted, climbing higher and higher, yet he remained alone all his life. He was keeping himself chaste for you. I scoffed as Gu Sichen glared at me venomously. Last life I may have beaten you, but still didn't get what I wanted. This time I thought things would be different, yet here I am trapped again. You know what? Fongbin treats me horribly now. He takes his mother's side and even laid hands on me. Gu Sichen pointed at the vivid slap mark on her face. Seeing me get hit by him, does that make you happy, Lu Yanan? I hate this so much. I don't understand what Gu Sichen's hatred is about. Doesn't everyone have to face the consequences of their own actions? She chose this path herself. What's that got to do with me? I sincerely hope she and Fongbin stay together forever. Story 2. My mother-in-law was critically ill, waiting for my husband to sign the surgery consent, yet he was busy trying to win back his first love who was about to move abroad. I pretended to panic and called him, only to have him hang up as I watched my mother-in-law take her last breath. In my past life, when I managed to inform him about her condition, he immediately left his first love and rushed to the hospital. He arrived too late, only to find his mother's lifeless body. The white moonlight vanished from his life forever after that, though my husband claimed he didn't blame me. On the 7th-day memorial, he knocked me unconscious and dragged me to the tombstone. The dagger plunged into my heart as he viciously twisted the hilt. His eyes burned crimson as he watched my mangled, bleeding wound. Why drag me to the hospital? I'm no doctor. What difference could I possibly make? Because of you, I'll never hear from Rowan again. You might as well join my mother in the grave. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the day my mother-in-law was dying. If he wants to chase his white moonlight, I won't stand in his way. The blaring hospital monitors jolted me awake. That's when I realized I'd been reborn, just like in my past life. Grandma lay on the hospital bed, her lips tinged blue-black from heart disease. Multiple medical monitors around us began shrieking in unison. I instinctively pressed the call button by the bedside. A nurse rushed into the ward almost immediately. After checking my mother-in-law's condition, she promptly summoned the attending physician. The attending doctor was Lin Kong, my husband's childhood best friend. My husband had specifically asked him to keep a close eye on his mother's condition. Dr. Lin Kong took one look and made the call immediately. The patient's condition is critical. We need to operate now. Get the family's consent. A thought flashed through my mind as I hit the dial button. Feigning urgency, I helped the nurses wheel the elderly woman into surgery while leaving my phone on the hospital bed with speakerphone activated. The first call was immediately hung up by my husband Jiang Yuan. As the cold automated voice sounded, Lin Kong furrowed his brows. Jiang Yuan didn't answer. Keep calling. We can't proceed with the surgery without his signature on the consent form. Hospital policy. Even I can't make exceptions for him. Feigning panic, I nodded and dialed my husband's number again. This time he didn't hang up, but his tone was dripping with irritation the moment the call connected. What do you want now? Didn't I tell you to stop calling? The hospital's full of people. Why do you keep bothering me? The same icy detachment from our past life made my eyes turn frosty in an instant. I remembered the vicious look on his face when he laid hands on me in that previous life. I started explaining. Are you with Jiang Rowan? You need to come over. Mom's condition isn't looking good. On the other end of the line, he took a deep breath and raised his voice several octaves, shouting angrily, every damn day it's the same story. How many times have I rushed over only to find Mom perfectly fine? Does Mom suddenly take a turn for the worse every time I step out to be with Rowan? What kind of act are you pulling here? Can't you survive without me for 5 minutes? If it's that serious, call the damn doctors. What am I supposed to do? Perform miracles? I told you I've got things to handle today. Stop bothering me. As the words fell, Jiang Rowan's voice came through the other end. Did something happen to your mother again? Go ahead, don't worry about me. I shouldn't keep disrupting your life anymore. Let's not contact each other from now on. Before I could say another word, he abruptly hung up the phone. My nails dug deep into my palms with such force that my knuckles turned white and trembled. As expected, even in this second chance at life, Jiang Rowan remained the most important person to him. The enraged voice blasted through the speakerphone into the ears of all medical staff present. Everyone's gaze toward me carried a tinge of pity. They all knew I'd quit my government job specifically to care for my mother-in-law. Just because Jiang Yuan said he didn't trust hired caregivers, I ended up living in the hospital for a whole year, running myself ragged. while I was busy taking care of my mother-in-law at the hospital, my husband was out chasing his childhood sweetheart. The few times he showed up were only when my mother-in-law's condition turned critical, forcing me to call him. By the time he finished comforting Jiang Ruwan and arrived, my mother-in-law had already stabilized after emergency treatment. He accused me of joking about his mother's life and being unreasonable. His attitude toward me worsened, his tone growing increasingly impatient. Eventually, he started refusing all my calls altogether. During several critical moments, it was always Lin Gong who couldn't stand by and contacted him on my behalf. At first, Jiang Yuan could still abruptly leave his date with Jiang Ruwan to rush to the hospital, but after several false alarms with his mother-in-law, Jiang Ruwan grew increasingly distant toward him. She accused him of neglecting her. Eventually, he stopped believing even Lin Kang's words. Convinced he'd been betrayed, I went through all sorts of dramatic schemes just to win him back. The classic cry wolf scenario played out perfectly between us, but this time I'd rather he didn't show up at all. Let his precious white moonlight take the blame for my mother-in-law's death. Lin Kang's expression darkened as the call ended. I'll buy us time with emergency measures. Keep trying to reach them. This surgery can't wait. With that, he turned and strode into the operating room. The nurse placed the surgical consent forms in front of me, with an apologetic expression. Hospital policy leaves us no choice. I'm afraid you'll need to contact the family again. We absolutely require a next of kin signature for the surgery. I nodded in understanding, dialed the number again in front of everyone. To my shock, Jiang Yuan hung up immediately and blocked my number. Outwardly frantic, I felt a quiet relief inside. My body slumped weakly onto the hallway chair, seizing the chance to rest. 10 minutes later, Lin Kang emerged from the OR, his face grave as he addressed the nurse. Issue a critical condition notice. The prognosis isn't good. As he turned to me, his eyes swept the room but still found no trace of Jiang Yuan. His brows suddenly knitted together as he said coldly, "Still no contact." I nodded gravely, forcing out 2 reluctant tears. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have called him when his mother was in critical condition. Now he won't believe a word I say. Lin Kang was close with Jiang Yuan and naturally knew Jiang Ruwan. Well aware of their messy relationship, he let out a heavy sigh after hearing me out. This isn't on you. Blame Jiang Yuan for being so damn unreasonable. He pulled off his gloves and strode straight to the nurse's station, picked up the landline at the station to dial Jiang Yuan. I rushed over with genuine concern written all over my face. The moment the call connected, Lin Kang snapped, "Auntie needs emergency surgery now. You're the only one who can sign the consent form. Where are you? Get to the hospital immediately." The line was noisy. Jiang Yuan seemed to be driving to the airport, chasing after someone. He didn't even take Lin Kang's words seriously. "You're at the hospital keeping watch. What could possibly happen to my mom? Zhang Yao putting on an act is one thing, but why are you enabling her? Don't you know Ruwan's leaving today? If I don't go after her now, I'll never see her again. I already missed my chance 5 years ago. I won't make the same mistake again. I know you favor Zhang Yao, but I refuse to spend my life with a woman I don't love. That's all. I need to drive now. Goodbye." Lin Kang's fury had nowhere to go. His eyes widened in disbelief that Jiang Yuan would dare ignore him. In an instant, his eyes burned crimson with rage, his chest heaving violently. His fingers kept jabbing at the redial button with desperate force, yet each repeated call only met the same mechanical tone of disconnection. The fury in his eyes slowly gave way to disappointment. It all dissolved into a heavy sigh in the end. A feeble fist thumped against the desk. My voice cracked with desperation as I begged the nurse on duty to lend me her phone, pleading to call my husband for his signature. The moment Jiang Yuan heard my voice through the receiver, his tone turned icy. "Are you fucking done yet? Had enough drama? You knew Ruwan was leaving today. Was picking today to start shit your grand plan. I'm not going today. See if I care. We're done. I've had enough of your paranoid nonsense. Lay one finger on my mother and I'll make you pay with your life." The call ended abruptly, denying me even a chance to explain. A bitter smirk twisted my lips. My heart ached for those 5 wasted years, 5 years of marriage spent tending to his mother's every need, only to be repaid with those cruel words. I was never the woman he loved, nor the one he wanted to spend his life with. The phantom pain from that fatal stab in our past life still throbs in my chest. Tears spilled over as I swiped at them with trembling fingers. The operating room echoed with nurses' frantic screams as Lin Kang's name was called repeatedly. He finally gave up completely on reaching Jiang Yuan. Turning around, He strode resolutely into the operating room. The bold letters, "Critical Condition Notice," on the table glared ominously. I took a moment to steady myself before sitting back down. After consulting a lawyer to draft divorce papers, I arranged funeral services for my mother-in-law. Soon after, the operating room lights went dark. Lin Kong wearily removed his mask and shook his head at me. The familiar scene carried a completely different emotion from my past life. This time Jiang Yuan didn't get to see his mother one last time, but at least I'm no longer the one to blame for Jiang Ruwan's absence. I finally breathed a sigh of relief, yet couldn't stop my eyes from welling up. In my previous life, Jiang Yuan treated me with the same cold indifference as today. The only difference was I never gave up then, went through great lengths to reach him, captured images of his grandmother's critical condition and sent the hospital's critical notice, convinced him of his grandmother's dire situation. At that moment, he was already on his way to the airport chasing Jiang Ruwan. He immediately turned the car around and raced to the hospital after reading the message. Sadly, too much time was wasted convincing him of his mother-in-law's critical condition during the drive. By the time he reached the operating room, she had just taken her last breath. He collapsed to his knees in the hospital corridor, sobbing uncontrollably with his hands clutching his head. He barely held himself together to help me with my mother-in-law's funeral arrangements. Only when the dust settled did he realize Jiang Ruwan had blocked him on all platforms. His chance to reconnect with the love who'd gone abroad was gone forever. For 7 straight days, he remained completely silent. When I asked with concern, he just shook his head and said he was fine. I even proactively booked him an international flight ticket to find Jiang Ruwan and explain. He coldly rejected it all, saying he'd never contact her again. He said this incident made him realize he should cherish those right in front of him. After 5 years of waiting, I finally heard those words from his lips, and without hesitation, I chose to believe, just as I was secretly rejoicing, thinking his heart was finally returning to our family. On the 7th-day memorial of my mother-in-law's passing, he knocked me unconscious with a blow and dragged me to her gravesite. The look in his eyes no longer held its usual indifference, only icy hatred remained. The moment I regained consciousness, he plunged the dagger he'd sharpened for 7 days straight into my heart. Agony contorted my face, my throat too paralyzed to utter even a whimper. He twisted the blade viciously, his eyes burning with glacial hatred. That deranged grimace made him look every bit the madman who'd lost his one true love. Watching helplessly as my flesh tore open, feeling the warm blood soaking through my clothes, just before darkness took me, he finally spoke. "Why did you have to call me? What difference could I possibly make by rushing to the hospital? Because of your damn photos, I'll never see Ruwan again, never. Do you have any idea how long I've waited for her to come back? For 5 years of our marriage, not a single day passed without me praying she'd return. I even begged in my dreams just to see her face one more time, and now when she finally reappears, because of you, I'll never hear from her again. If you can't even take care of my mother properly, then you can join her in the grave, just die already." With those words, he violently yanked the dagger from my chest. Stab after stab pierced through my body. Blood spurted out instantly, splattering onto the tombstone and staining my mother-in-law's smiling face crimson. The 2-month pregnancy test report in my bag would never have its chance to be revealed. After death, my spirit lingered nearby. I watched helplessly as he fled abroad, then finally groveled on his knees before Jiang Ruwan. He was shot dead by pursuing officers before he could even utter a word of surrender. That's when I realized how pathetic my 5-year marriage had been, sustained only by my one-sided sacrifices. He even changed his surname to Jiang for Jiang Ruwan's sake, abandoning his own family without a second thought. How could my devotion ever make him waver? Thankfully, fate gave me a second chance. I kept my mother-in-law's death certificate and didn't leave immediately. Instead, I went for an abortion procedure. Lin Kong stayed by my side the entire time, concerned about my condition. The more he cares, the worse I feel. I feel like I've sold myself short. Even Jiang Yuan's friends know how fragile and lonely I am right now, yet the man I've loved for 5 years sees me only as an obstacle to his pursuit of true love. For me, the unpaid caregiver who looked after his mother for a whole year, there was nothing but resentment and endless hatred. Lin Kong watched me schedule the surgery, watched me go through with it. Not a word of protest, no more excuses for his brother. When I came out of the operating room, he even carefully reminded me of the post-op instructions. I committed every word to memory and nodded weakly. The funeral is in 3 days. Since Jiang Yuan isn't here, and you were her primary physician, would you stand in for him? She was always kind to me. I couldn't bear the thought of her leaving this world alone. This was Jiang Yuan's failing, not hers. Every proper ritual must be observed. With these words, I staggered out the door and hailed a cab home. For 3 whole days, Jiang Yuan remained completely silent, not even a single word of concern for mother-in-law. The only updates I got were screenshots from Lin Kong showing Jiang Ruwan's constantly refreshed social media posts. Perhaps out of pity for my ignorance, Lin Kong kept sending me their latest news every single day. It seems Jiang Yuan has successfully won her back. With my mother-in-law barely cold in her grave, those two managed to tour every local attraction within 3 days. I watched with bitter amusement, screenshotting everything as evidence for the impending divorce lawsuit over his infidelity. On the day of my mother-in-law's funeral, the turnout was pitifully sparse. Since Jiang Yuan and I never had a wedding ceremony, I didn't know any of his relatives. The only attendees were the uncles and aunts my mother-in-law had mentioned to me before. Lin Kang's gaze was icy, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on the doorway. I knew he was waiting for Jiang Yuan. His heart softened after all, so he'd sent Jiang Yuan the funeral notice for grandma. Yet when the final rites commenced, Jiang Yuan still hadn't appeared. Lin Kang's gaze turned ice cold, clad in thin mourning garments. I cradled my mother-in-law's ashes in both hands, whether it was hatred or heartache. I couldn't tell. The blinding white before me filled my heart with desolation. Today's funeral was for my mother-in-law, and for the person I used to be. Just as we were about to bury my mother-in-law, a man's furious roar erupted at the doorway. "What the hell are you doing? Who gave you permission to hold a funeral for my mother? She's still alive in the hospital, you lunatic." My steps froze, my grip tightening around the urn. The familiar viciousness in that voice made my whole body tremble uncontrollably. Jiang Yuan stormed in with visible fury, accompanied by Jiang Ruwan in her striking red dress. The vibrant color stood out jarringly against the funeral's pristine white backdrop. Before I could speak, Lin Kong cut in with icy contempt. "Auntie's been dead for years. You won't listen to Zhang Yao or me. What? Do you need her to rise from the grave to tell you herself? Are you out of your mind bringing this woman dressed like that to Auntie's funeral today?" "Jiang Yuan, I'm utterly disgusted with you. If you're here to make trouble, get the hell out with her right now." Jiang Yuan never expected his own brother to turn against him like this, fury flashing in his eyes instantly. "So you're joining Zhang Yao in her ridiculous charade, first faking illness, now throwing a funeral. You love playing pretend so much. Fine, have your damn funeral then." With those words, he stormed toward me in great strides, snatched the urn right out of my hands, and smashed it violently onto the ground. My vision was instantly flooded with ashen gray. I froze in shock, unable to suppress a scream. As I crouched to shield it with my body, Jiang Yuan kicked me straight into the ashes. The scattered ashes coated my face and stained my mourning clothes. Lin Kong snapped into action, lunging forward to deliver a powerful punch to Jiang Yuan's face. "You're a damn animal. How could Auntie have a son like you? Get out, get the hell out right now. Don't you dare say you know me. I'll handle Auntie's funeral myself." Granny was deeply grateful for Lin Kang's care and treated him with great kindness. When relatives visited, she specifically asked them to bring Lin Kong many local delicacies. How pathetic that even an outsider knew how to let Granny pass in peace. The son she raised with her own hands shattered her ashes urn for another woman. Jiang Ruwan rushed forward to stop him, but Lin Kong shoved her to the ground. Her hand was slashed by the broken urn, the wound deep enough to expose bone. Jiang Yuan's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. He turned to help her up. Just as he rolled up his sleeves to throw a punch, Lin Kong pulled out the grandmother's death certificate from his pocket and slammed it against his face. Jiang Yuan caught the paper, his entire body trembling with rage that nearly consumed his sanity. Ready to tear it apart without even a glance, as his hands froze midair, his gaze locked onto the bold words, "death certificate." His movements stiffened, eyes widening in an instant. His face was a mask of utter disbelief. Her lips trembled faintly. Jiang Ruwan's eyes flickered twice, seeing the man still motionless. Tears welled up in her eyes. The next instant, a pained cry escaped her lips. She turned to me with choked sobs and spoke. "Zhang Yao, no matter how angry you are, you can't joke about Auntie's life. Don't you know Jiang Yuan lost his father as a child and has only had his mother to rely on all these years? She worked tirelessly to raise him. I know you resent me, maybe even hate me. I never meant to intrude on your lives. I just can't let go of Jiang Yuan. If my presence truly offends you, I'll leave tomorrow, you'll never have to see me again. Watching her tear-streaked face and clumsy acting, I couldn't help but curl my lips in a cold smirk. Turns out she knew exactly how much Jiang Yuan's mother meant to him, yet she deliberately chose to make trouble during the year his mother was hospitalized. She turned the household upside down with constant turmoil. The poor woman passed away in the operating room without even getting to see her son one last time. During that year in the hospital, the couple barely had any time together. Many nights when I returned from fetching water, I'd find my mother-in-law sobbing quietly under the blankets. Afraid of disturbing other patients, she'd even bite her hand to stifle any sound, yet all I could do was watch helplessly. Jiang Yuan had already started ignoring my calls by then, even when he did pick up in rare good moods. The moment I mentioned his mother, he'd accuse me of being jealous and using her illness as an excuse, called me disgusting and selfish. Compared to his precious Jiang Ruwan, I wasn't even fit to hold a candle to her. Yet he conveniently forgot who was running around taking care of his mother during her hospitalization. Jiang Ruwan always received his unconditional favor, so naturally she never needed to argue with him. Meanwhile, I'm the one who worked tirelessly, only to end up getting all the blame. Quitting my secure government job wasn't enough. Jiang Yuan even destroyed my life and my unborn child's future. At this thought, my eyes gradually darkened with hatred. Jiang Ruwan braced her hands against the ground, struggling to rise. My peripheral vision kept tracking Jiang Yuan's movements, yet this man who once worshipped her like a goddess now seemed suddenly deaf to her voice. Her struggling movements caused more blood to gush from the wound. The blood was nearly reaching where her mother-in-law's ashes had been scattered. I scrambled to my feet to push her away. In my haste, I stumbled and nearly slipped. Link steadied me with a hand. His gaze turning ice-cold, rage blazed in his eyes, ready to fight both of them to the death at any moment. I barely used any force when I struck, yet Jiang Ruwan collapsed as if I'd shoved her, tumbling right before Jiang Yuan this time. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she looked up with wounded innocence, yet Jiang Yuan remained motionless before her, showing no reaction whatsoever. Clutching the flimsy death certificate with white-knuckled intensity, she stared holes through the paper with wide, burning eyes. Jiang Ruwan couldn't help but reach out to gently tug at his trouser leg. Before she could utter a word, Jiang Yuan's hoarse roar tore through the air. Get out, get the hell away from me. His head snapped up, meeting Lin Kang's tightly controlled fury. He demanded through gritted teeth, is this true? You'd better not be joking with me. You're the person I trust most. How could you conspire with Zhang Yao to deceive me? I entrusted my mother's care to you because I believed in you. Before he could finish, Lin Kang cut him off with a dark expression and furious tone. When have I ever lied to you about your mother? Even when I lost faith in you later, I never let it affect her care. Zhang Yao and I worked tirelessly at the hospital, not to give you free time for your affair. Jiang Yuan, you make me sick. Have you forgotten how you knelt before me, begging me to pull strings for your mother's hospital bed? Begging me to arrange specialist consultations. You've forgotten everything. His emotions gradually intensified, his eyes burning red with fury, pointing a finger at Jiang Ruwan who was clinging to him. His voice turned icy. Ever since she came back, she's all you can see. Even your wife gave up her promising career and lifelong security just to care for your mother. What right do you have to live it up outside? Do you even remember you're her own flesh and blood? Look at what you've become. I regret ever helping you. Had your mother not been saved back then, at least in her final memories you'd still be the devoted son you once were, not the man who makes her weep uncontrollably at the mere mention of your name. Jiang Yuan's face paled rapidly with each accusatory question, clutching his pant leg. Jiang Ruwan finally pieced together from our words the truth that her mother-in-law had indeed passed away, terrified of being blamed. Her voice trembled with hesitation and grievance when she spoke again, yet she still persisted in framing me. Did something really happen to Auntie? Why didn't you tell Jiang Yuan? He's her only son. Because of you, he didn't even get to see his mother one last time. He'll live with this regret for the rest of his life, even if you hate me. How could you be this cruel? I never imagined Jiang Ruwan would have the audacity to turn this around on me even now. At this moment, I finally understood why I lost to her in my past life. That level of mental fortitude is truly beyond ordinary. Her exaggerated pout and fake victim act nearly made me burst into angry laughter on the spot. Before I could retort, Lin Kang's icy voice cut through. Shut up. Who gave you the right to say that? We all know exactly why you came back after going abroad. If you hadn't meddled, they'd never have ended up like this. You're the last person who deserves to be here. Get out of here right now. Go. The blood you've spilled on this floor is tainting Auntie's path to reincarnation. As the words left her lips, a flash of bitter envy darted through Jiang Ruwan's eyes. The next instant, the tears that had been welling up in her eyes came gushing forth like a broken dam. She wailed at both me and Lin Kong. How dare you say that to me? I had no idea Auntie was in trouble. Nobody told me anything, so why am I being blamed now that something's happened? She made an awkward attempt to pull herself up by leaning on Jiang Yuan, yet Jiang Yuan stood rigidly straight, showing no intention of moving, nor did he seem inclined to speak up for her. After an awkward standoff, Jiang Ruwan had no choice but to struggle to her feet unaided. Blood from the wound smeared on Jiang Yuan's pants. In the past, seeing his beloved hurt like this would have driven him into a frenzy, yet now he could turn a blind eye to the woman he'd pursued for years. His gaze remained fixed on his mother-in-law's funeral portrait. Clenching his jaw, he struggled to contain his emotions. His eyes reddened before he mechanically lowered his head to stare at the scattered ashes beneath his feet. He finally spoke to Jiang Ruwan in a measured tone. You should leave. I need to see my mother off on her final journey. At these words, Jiang Ruwan's eyes widened in shock. Her legs nearly gave way as she swayed before barely regaining her balance. With wounded eyes, she stared at the bloodied gash on her arm. In disbelief, she uttered, "What about me?" Her performance remained flawless as ever, but this time, there was no devoted audience to witness it. Jiang Yuan, who was always gentle with her, darkened his expression at the sound. The veins at his temples throbbed violently. He turned and roared at her furiously. "Are you deaf? I said get out, get the hell out." Jiang Ruwan's aggrieved expression froze on her face, her eyes wide with shock, her lips parted, but no sound came out. A venomous glare raked over both me and Lin Kong. Clenching her teeth, she turned and stormed out of the funeral. The moment her figure vanished completely from sight, Jiang Yuan's knees hit the ground with a thud. With trembling hands, he carefully gathered the scattered ashes, attempting to return them to the shattered urn. But the broken vessel could no longer shelter his grandmother's ashes from the elements. A gust of wind swept through, lifting the powdery remnants from the ground. I frantically reached out to grab it, only to clutch at empty air. Jiang Yuan's heart-wrenching scream echoed in my ears, filled with boundless regret and anguish. Mom. It seemed only at this moment did he finally remember he still had a gravely ill mother, but it was all too late. I looked down at the scant ashes remaining on the ground, my heart heavy with sorrow. Such a kind woman in life, who could have imagined she'd meet such an end after death? Having a son like Jiang Yuan was truly the only misfortune in her life. Without him, grandmother might have remarried by now and found happiness in her golden years. At this moment, Jiang Yuan and I could only scrape the ashes clinging to our mourning clothes, carefully returning them to the shattered urn. There's no time left to go buy a new urn now. When we buried grandmother's broken urn together, Jiang Yuan could no longer contain his emotions. Grief and rage burned in his bloodshot eyes. Tears streamed unchecked down his ashen face. Watching this, my heart held nothing but seething hatred. Lin Kong stood stone-faced throughout his grandmother's burial. As the final funeral rite concluded, he bowed deeply before his mother-in-law's tombstone. Then he turned and left the cemetery without hesitation. Jiang Yuan remained kneeling on the ground, showing no intention of moving. A cold smirk curled my lips as I couldn't help but sneer. Who are you putting on this act of filial devotion for now? It's too late for regrets. Mom's final memory was of her only son abandoning her for another woman, leaving her helpless and alone on that cold operating table. As the words landed, the last vestige of strength in Jiang Yuan's eyes shattered completely. His hands clutched his head desperately. The same gesture he'd made in his past life upon hearing of his mother's death. His entire body shook with uncontrollable sobs as his forehead struck heavily against the steps before the tombstone. Blood mingled with dirt, painting the world crimson. Looking back, this must have been how shattered he felt when he lost Jiang Ruwan in his past life, but I wasn't there to witness it. How laughable to think everything would just fade away with Jiang Ruwan's departure. I gritted my teeth and spoke to him. Back from your trip, had enough fun, then let's get the divorce paperwork done tomorrow. Perhaps he never expected the day would come when I'd be the one initiating divorce. Jiang Yuan's sobs ceased as he slowly raised his bloodshot eyes. I couldn't help but take a step back. His voice trembled slightly. Are you asking for a divorce? Knowing he was in the wrong, his eyes darted around nervously, searching for a plausible excuse. Yet no justification came to mind, his brows furrowed deeper, the conflict in his gaze growing more intense. After a long silence, he finally spoke in a low voice. "I genuinely thought you were joking like before. I never expected something would happen to Mom. I didn't mean for this to happen." As the words left his lips, a single tear rolled down his cheek and splashed onto the gravestone. My gaze turned icy. "What difference does your intention make? Will it change anything? Fine. I'm exhausted anyway. I won't stand in the way of your happiness. Didn't you say you couldn't bear living with someone you don't love for the rest of your life, let alone living with a murderer? Who knows when my last day on earth might be?" He never expected I'd overheard his phone call with Lincoln. A flash of panic darted through his eyes. "That's not what I meant. Let me explain. I know I was a complete jerk that day. It's all my fault. Things like this have happened before. But Mom was fine when I got there. Can't you just give me one more chance?" His voice grew increasingly frantic as he spoke, his eyes bloodshot with a terrifying crimson hue. For a moment, I froze in stunned silence. I thought he'd jump at the chance to finally be rid of me when I mentioned divorce. Perhaps his mother's passing reawakened his guilt toward me, or maybe he knew I was the only daughter-in-law his mother approved of, and didn't want her spirit to witness our divorce in sorrow. But remembering that year when the hospital became my home, my heart aches with bitterness. My past life taught me that forgiveness only invites deeper wounds. Today he'd abandoned Jiang Ruwan for me. Tomorrow he'd blame me for blocking his path to true love, might even stab me in the heart again. I don't know if I have a third life left. I can't afford to gamble anymore. I want to stay as far away from him as possible for the rest of my life. At this thought, I shook my head resolutely. "We're getting divorced tomorrow. Even if you refuse, I'll file for divorce. This marriage is over. My late mother-in-law wouldn't want to see me suffer like this from the afterlife. She told me herself she never wanted to be a burden. I simply cherished her kindness to me and willingly cared for her for a year. Now that she's gone, I can divorce with a clear conscience." I feared my harsh tone might provoke him into violence, leaving me bloodied on the spot. Before he could react, I quickly turned and walked away from the gravesite. Little did I expect that right after moving into my new place, I'd receive a call from Lin Kong. Jiang Yuan went to the hospital. He begged to see the surveillance footage of his mother-in-law's final moments. He said not being able to see her one last time was heartbreaking, and even watching the footage would ease his regret. Lin Kong initially refused, not wanting to break hospital protocol. In the end, Jiang Yuan knelt right there in the hallway, pleading with him one last time by invoking their 20 years of friendship. He said he'd never seen Jiang Yuan in such a pitiful state before. The loss of his mother-in-law is something he probably won't recover from for years. Lin Kong ultimately softened toward his only sworn brother. After lengthy discussions with the supervisor, Jiang Yuan was taken to the security office to review the surveillance footage outside his grandmother's hospital room. Jiang Ruwan called multiple times during this period, but Jiang Yuan kept hanging up on her. He even saw Jiang Ruwan's threatening message about planning to leave the country again. Simply because he gave her the cold shoulder at the funeral, Jiang Ruwan started throwing another tantrum. She said she was already on her way to the airport, and if Jiang Yuan didn't show up this time, they might as well never see each other again. Yet Jiang Yuan remained unmoved this time. His expression grew even frostier. The surveillance footage showed me rushing up and down multiple floors, tirelessly tending to my mother-in-law's illness. He broke down and slapped himself several times in despair. As the two stepped out of the security room after reviewing the footage, they unexpectedly ran into Jiang Ruwan getting her wounds bandaged. Jiang Yuan realized he'd been deceived, connecting it to what happened on the day his mother-in-law passed away. Enraged beyond reason, he grabbed Jiang Ruwan by the hair and dragged her into the emergency exit. His hand clamped down viciously on her freshly bandaged wound. Jiang Ruwan's face contorted in agony, sapping even her strength to flee. The gauze darkened with blood as the stitches tore open beneath the pressure. Crimson droplets trailed down her arm to the floor. Jiang Yuan showed no intention of letting go. He kept pressing her with questions until Jiang Ruwan finally broke down and revealed the truth. She had never actually booked any flight tickets, whether today or the day her mother-in-law passed away. Her claims about going abroad were nothing but lies fabricated to keep Jiang Yuan from leaving. She kept insisting she only loved Jiang Yuan too much, never expecting her actions would backfire. Jiang Yuan completely lost control. Despite Lin Kang's repeated attempts to intervene, he could only watch helplessly as Jiang Yuan dragged the person out of the hospital. Lin Kong said the sheer hatred he saw in his brother's eyes at that moment was bone-chilling. He'd probably never have anything to do with Jiang Ruan ever again in this lifetime. Whether to forgive Jiang Yuan is entirely my call. He was just giving me a heads up. I thanked him and hung up, drawing from my past life memories. A vague premonition stirred within me. That evening, Jiang Yuan called me. A woman's muffled sobs faintly escaped the receiver. The icy murderous tone was identical to his previous incarnation. My blood ran cold with instant terror. Before I could hang up to call the police, he began apologizing to me. I'm the one who failed you and our family. I agree to the divorce. No need to file a lawsuit. You have my word I'll never disturb you again or reappear in your life. I muttered a reply and hung up, my body drenched in cold sweat. Only after deadbolting the doors and windows could I finally rest easy, holding the divorce papers the next day. I finally believed his promise. They'd just reached the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance when a squad of police officers stormed in. Without a word, they arrested Jiang Yuan, accusing him of involvement in a premeditated murder case. Last night's premonition materialized at this very moment. Jiang Yuan was taken away by the police without putting up any resistance. Only now, after my rebirth, did the tension in my mind finally ease completely. That afternoon, while I was busy sending out resumes to start my new life, my phone alerted me to a local crime news update. Jiang Yuan committed premeditated murder. The victim was a Mr. Jiang. The cause of death was a crime of passion. Jiang Yuan confessed to the crime without hesitation and was immediately imprisoned. True to his word, he vanished from my life for good. Given a second chance, I finally rewrote my own ending. Later I landed an easy job while studying for exams on the side. A year later, I successfully got back on my feet. Fortune favors the survivors. This time, no one's worth sacrificing everything I built. Story 2. In that raging fire, I saved Zhou Shichu, but failed to rescue the love of his life. Outwardly calm, Zhou Shichu accepted the Mu family's support and married me. Yet on our 5th wedding anniversary, he secretly orchestrated a car accident. He stared coldly at me lying in a pool of blood. How does it feel to wait for death? Now you'll know her despair. 1. The raging flames merged with the memory of that car crash. I stared blankly at Zhou Shichu's contorted teenage face as he shoved me away with bloodshot eyes. You vile woman, how could you be this cruel? You'd even sacrifice Suyu's life just to have me. The violent push sent me stumbling to the ground. Despite the swarm of bodyguards, I couldn't escape the licking flames. The expensive gown's hem burned through, searing both my skin and my already shattered heart. It's all coming back to me now. In that fire 10 years ago, I defied everyone's warnings and fought through the flames to rescue Zhou Shichu, who was trapped inside. But I couldn't save Suyu in time. Suyu died. Zhou Shichu secretly resented me for a decade without showing the slightest hint. He obeyed my every command and stayed by my side for 10 years, making me believe he truly loved me. Then on our 5th wedding anniversary, he meticulously orchestrated a car accident. I died, along with my 2-month-old unborn child, Zhou Shichu. Oh Zhou Shichu. I looked up at his face filled with hatred, feeling utterly desolate inside. Just how much must you hate me to meticulously scheme for 10 long years? You'd even go after the child between us. I waved the bodyguards aside and stared coldly at Zhou Shichu. Did I ever stop you from saving Suyu? Zhou Shichu froze, then glared at me viciously. You'd absolutely block me from saving Suyu. You're obsessed with me. You're dying for Suyu to perish, so the Mu family can adopt me. Song Qianyue, you're nothing but a... Before he could finish, I slapped him across the face. I shoved Zhou Shichu's admittedly handsome face aside, gripping his jaw to force his gaze toward the collapsed load-bearing wall. Your beloved's right there. Zhou, if you've got the balls, go save her yourself. Stop guilt-tripping others into doing your dirty work. As for adoption, I released Zhou's face, accepted the handkerchief from my bodyguard with visible disgust, wiped my hands, and tossed it aside. The Song family wouldn't take in trash even if we were swimming in gold, too. The Songs are filthy rich, and my parents have hearts of gold. One of my 16th birthday gifts was sponsoring several underprivileged students in my name, but there's only one adoption slot available. Initially, my parents asked me to choose between Suyu and Zhou Shichu. Then I accidentally overheard Suyu saying, "Why does Zhou Shichu get all the good things? I want to be adopted by the Song family too. I deserve to be their heiress. What makes him so special? Is Song Qianyue blind to actually consider adopting him?" So to secure the sole adoption spot, so you started a fire to prevent me from adopting Zhou Shichu. The fire got out of control and ended up consuming them. Even after being reborn and saving Zhou Shichu, he still despises me. Let him reap what he sows. Without hesitation, I turned and walked away with my bodyguards. Zhou Shichu glared at my retreating back. Song Qianyue, if you don't save Suyu, I'll hate you forever. I curse you to die a miserable death. I never broke stride, Zhou Shichu. I hope you won't regret it when the truth comes out. 3. Saving Zhou Shichu left a nasty burn on my arm, a grotesque scar twisting like a centipede. The healing wound itched and ached under the scab, keeping me awake all night with the maddening discomfort. Yet for an entire month, Zhou Shichu never uttered a single word of concern. My mother wept bitterly. Qianyue, is that boy really the only one for you? She looked at me with swollen, cautious eyes. I'm not forcing you, darling, but choose a man who truly cherishes you. Look what you've suffered saving him. Has he even visited you once? In my past life, I had constant fights with my mom over my crush on Zhou Shichu. Zhou always claimed my mother looked down on him and poisoned my mind against him. Like a lovesick fool, I believed him and even threatened suicide to force my mother's approval. Given this second chance, I hugged my mom in remorse. I'm sorry, Mom, I was wrong. I'll never care for Zhou Shichu again. Tears streamed down my mother's joyful face as she said, Qianyue, I still support your freedom to choose love. No, Mom, right now I just want to focus on my studies. After being reborn, I re-examined all the events of my past life. As the only daughter of the Song family, my parents constantly worried about me being left without support, which led them to consider adoption. They hoped this person would be grateful, honest and reliable, someone they could trust to carry on after they're gone. But we all forgot, the only person you can truly count on in this world is yourself. So-called virtues like kindness, gratitude, responsibility, even a full decade of kindness, they'd stoop to any deception to achieve their ends. Wiping my mother's tears, I said, Mom, Zhou Shichu isn't young anymore. To avoid complications, let's redirect his funding to stray animals instead. Relieved by my change of heart, Mom agreed readily. Whatever Qianyue says, but I never expected Zhou Shichu would come knocking before I even suspended the funding. 4. The medical bill is 100,000 yuan. Song Qianyue, you're footing this. Being classmates with Zhou Shichu, he sought me out on the very first day of school. He stared down at me imperiously, his forehead swathed in layers of bandages. They say he managed to save Suyu's life in that fire, just as he'd hoped, but not her legs. She was left disabled. He drained his entire savings, yet still couldn't cover Suyu's medical bills, so naturally, he came straight to me. If you hadn't delayed the critical rescue window, Suyu wouldn't have been this badly injured. Gripping my desk with both hands, he spat through gritted teeth. Song Qianyue, why couldn't it have been you who ended up crippled? Making you pay the bills is letting you off easy. My hand trembled as I held the pen. In my past life when trapped in the car, I begged Zhou Shichu desperately for the sake of my unborn child. Through tears I asked him. Even without Suyu, we'd known each other since childhood, and he'd been receiving financial support from my father all along. Why would you do this to me? In the end, I mustered every last ounce of strength to crawl up and kowtow to him. I pleaded that I'd gladly give my life for Suyu, but begged him to spare the child in my womb. Yet Zhou Shichu's expression remained frosty, devoid of any warmth. Song Qianyue, he said icily, I've often wondered, why wasn't it you who died that day? Someone as cruel and heartless as you, who'd watch others die without lifting a finger, is utterly unworthy of bearing my child. You deserve to burn in hell, and take your child with you. 5. It took me a long moment to keep from losing my mind. I looked up coldly at Zhou Shichu. I won't give you a single cent. Don't forget, I saved your life. Who gave you the right to guilt-trip me? Zhou Shichu never expected this response. He grabbed my arm in fury. How can you be so heartless? Do you have any idea how much pain Suyu's enduring? She's still so young. Are you really going to let her become disabled? In the struggle, he yanked at my sleeve covering the scar, exposing the grotesque mark to the cold air. He suddenly sneered, Song Qianyue, you're just pathetic. At the end of the day, you're only targeting Suyu because you can't have me. Isn't that right? With those words, he mercilessly tore at my scabbed wound, watching indifferently as it bled anew. I won't let you succeed. I'll make sure you die as miserably as you did in your past life. 6. Boom. Something exploded in my mind. The pain racked my entire being. So Zhou Shichu was reborn too. After 2 lifetimes, I still couldn't escape his baseless hatred. What exactly did I do wrong? What fault does my child have in this? All I ever did was love him once. Why must I bear the blame for everything? With sudden, desperate strength, I seized Zhou Shichu by the collar. So you remember how I died, you remember everything my Song family did for you, you remember it all. Yet still you do this, 2 lifetimes, Zhou Shichu, 2 lifetimes. What debt could I possibly owe you? By what right do you treat me this way? I could tear you apart with my bare hands. What have I ever done wrong? Even if I die, it's you who deserves hell. Suyu deserves hell. She got what was coming to her. Suyu was the one who started the fire. She brought this upon herself. Why pin the blame on me? In both past lives and this one, I've been fighting to save people. I was even afraid Zhou Shichu would never recover. So I hid the truth about the fire from him, and what happened? He's hated me for 2 lifetimes. Why, how dare you? Rage burned through my chest as I grabbed him wildly. Zhou Shichu, it's you who'll die a wretched death. Karma will get you all. 7. I completely cut off all financial support for Zhou Shichu. From now on, he's just a stranger to me. But I underestimated Zhou Shichu's determination for revenge. He rallied numerous journalists to push the orphanage fire incident to trending topics. The scandal spread like wildfire, with overwhelming public condemnation targeting the Song family. How vile. Is this how the wealthy play with human lives? Oh my god. Just because people don't like her, she has to take revenge on everyone. What a vile creature. No wonder guys can't stand her. Such a malicious woman. She's the one who deserves to die. Apologize. The entire Song family needs to apologize. Even Suyu was crying her heart out to the cameras. I don't know anything. I just wanted to study hard with Shichu and change my fate. How did things end up like this? My leg. What am I supposed to do now? In the footage, Zhou Shichu held Suyu protectively before turning to glare at the camera, his voice dripping with venom as he addressed me across the screen. Song Qianyue, no matter what tricks you pull, I'll never love you. You'll pay for what you've done. 8. As public outrage reached fever pitch, Suyu seized the moment to launch a crowdfunding campaign. Every donation to her came with a vicious note. For Song Qianyue's coffin, donate $10 and Song Qianyue dies 10 minutes sooner. That bitch Song Qianyue, $50 buys her a man in hell. Some even showed up at my dad's company, hurling rotten eggs at the entrance. My father had enough of the online abuse against me and decided to take legal action, but I told him not to interfere. This feud between Zhou Shichu and me won't be satisfying unless he uncovers the truth with his own hands. I clicked on the trending topic at the top of Weibo's hot search list. In the latest video, Suyu held Zhou Shichu's hand and said, I don't hate Song Qianyue. I know Shichu is an exceptionally good man. I can't stop others from liking him. But Song Qianyue, after all these days, haven't you even offered me a single apology? I lost a leg because of you. Is it too much to ask for a simple apology? The comments section was flooded with mentions demanding I apologize. Suyu added through tears. I don't want donations. I just want Song Qianyue's sincere apology. Look at her. So aggrieved, so virtuous. The donation amount is skyrocketing. Tens of thousands of people are now hurling insults at me. After 3 days of chaos, it's time to end this farce. So I reposted the Weibo. At Suyue, I'm apologizing to you. But are you even worthy of it? 9. The clamor demanding my death grew deafening. Zhou Shichu wheeled Suyu in a wheelchair, accompanied by reporters, blocking my path to school to force an apology from me. Standing at the crowd center like some righteous crusader, he declared, Song Qianyue, I'm giving you one final chance. Apologize to Suyu. Meanwhile, Suyu sat pitifully in her wheelchair with perfectly calculated exhaustion. Song Qianyue, she said weakly, I've realized I won't fear you anymore. Your family's wealth and power mean nothing. I've done no wrong. And I deserve this apology, but I want you to kneel and apologize. She looked up at me, her eyes gleaming with hidden triumph. I knew she hated me. She'd hated me long before discovering I was her benefactor. Because I'm wealthy, while she's just a scholarship student from a poor background. That's why she's practically gleeful at the thought of my downfall. Even her deliberate attempts to get close to Zhou Shichu were solely because she knew I liked him. Because that's the only thing she could ever best me at. Did she love Zhou Shichu? No, not in the slightest. The only person she ever truly loved was herself, otherwise she'd never have been cruel enough to set that fire, intent on burning Zhou Shichu alive. But Zhou Shichu never knew. I glanced between Zhou Shichu and Suyu. Let me ask you one last time, was I really the one who crippled your leg? 10. A flicker of guilt crossed Suyu's face before she quickly composed herself. Zhou Shichu grasped her hand. Don't be afraid. She deserved to die. The crowd around them was seething with rage. Reporters swarmed with their cameras, eager to condemn me on the spot. Suyu found her courage again. Gripping the wheelchair armrests, she sneered, Song Qianyue, kneel and beg for my forgiveness. I might just give you a chance to atone for your sins. Humph. My lips curled into a frosty smile. You incorrigible wretch. I told you, you're unworthy of my apology. With a raised hand, my bodyguard handed me a small USB drive. Suyu stiffened at the sight. Her grip on the wheelchair tightening involuntarily. I didn't look at her, nor did I glance at Zhou Shichu. Turning only to the most aggressive reporter, I asked, do you even know what the truth is? The reporter was left speechless. I turned back, deliberately pausing to stare at Suyu for a few seconds before shifting my gaze to the mob that had been chasing me down. Some were even live streaming, practically shoving their cameras in my face. The barrage of hateful comments flooding the live chat was dizzying. You'd think I'd dug up and desecrated their ancestors' graves from the way they were acting. Clutching the tiny USB drive, I scanned the room and asked, do you all truly understand everything that happened before, during, and after the fire? The room fell silent. They couldn't even meet my gaze. Their guilt was written all over them. They know nothing at all. Yet when public opinion flaps its wings, they swarm in like a mindless horde, waving the banner of justice. They crown themselves as righteous gods, pathetic and laughable. I glanced at Suyu without changing expression. A single casual look from me was enough to make her fidget. With a faint smile, I slowly handed the USB drive to the reporter. Take a look. That fire back then was actually, no. Before I could finish, a heart-wrenching roar suddenly erupted. Suyu, who should have been sitting in her wheelchair, lunged forward like a madwoman and snatched the USB drive from my hand. The crowd stood frozen in shock. I curled my lips. The show is officially on. 11. Suyu panted heavily, then looked around at everyone in panic as realization dawned. Her action was nothing short of a slap in the face to everyone present, especially to Zhou Shichu, who had defended her most fiercely. All along, Zhou Shichu had believed his beloved to be that pure, kind-hearted moonlight of his life, but the truth was, Suyu had deceived him, deceived them all. Yet before the reporters, Zhou Shichu said nothing, shielding Suyu as always. Chaos erupted in the scene. A crowd was pulling Suyu's hair, demanding their money back. Zhou Shichu shielded Suyu, his face and body covered in wounds, watching his humiliating state from afar. I could barely contain my glee. Just you wait, Zhou Shichu, when the whole truth comes out, I'll make sure you suffer just as much as I did. That's only fair. I clapped my hands. The bodyguard swiftly and professionally snatched the USB drive from Suyu's hands. With her battered face streaked with tears, Suyu pleaded with me. Qianyue, I don't need your apology anymore. I'll return all the money, for the sake of our school days together. Can we just let this go? 12. I looked at her with a cold sneer. Zhou Shichu's face remained stormy throughout. Why beg her? There's nothing to be afraid of, right? What's there to fear anyway? Even if the fire scene footage gets leaked, Zhou Shichu would be the only one taking the blame. What's Suyu so afraid of? Obviously, she's terrified Zhou Shichu might learn the truth. I smiled at Suyu. The deeper my smile reached my eyes, the more panic washed over Suyu's face. But I won't let Zhou Shichu learn the truth so soon. I'll make him peel back the facade of his beloved moonlight with his own hands, layer by layer. See with your own eyes how revoltingly grotesque the flesh beneath the surface truly is. That's how you destroy someone both physically and psychologically. So indeed, the only thing on my flash drive was footage from the fire scene. The crowd erupted in shock and uproar after watching it. Song Qianyue literally saved someone. Why is she still being blamed? Holy shit. It wasn't Song Qianyue's fault at all. She even rescued Zhou Shichu. Unbelievable. The full video shows the truth. If you want to be a hero, do it yourself. Stop guilt-tripping the young lady. I'm sorry Song Qianyue. I was wrong to lash out at you. My bad. Damn that Suyu. Refund me. As the video progressed, Zhou Shichu's expression grew increasingly grim. A reporter shoved a camera in his face. Zhou Shichu, Song Qianyue saved your life, yet instead of gratitude, you demanded an apology from them. How dare you? Zhou Shichu pressed his lips together in silence. Suyu secretly let out a sigh of relief. She was secretly studying my expression. I bet she was wondering whether I actually knew the truth. If I did, I would have revealed it by now. So she was taking a gamble too, gambling that I know nothing, betting I have no proof. After all, she had to hold on to at least one thing. Either the Song family's support or Zhou Shichu. The only person who truly cared for her. Given the current situation, there's absolutely no chance of her receiving our Song family's sponsorship again, so after weighing her options, she took Zhou Shichu's hand again and turned on the waterworks for the cameras with her usual act. I'm sorry, I just couldn't bear to see Shichu struggle like this. That's why I did it. Shichu and I share the same fate, orphaned with no one to rely on. Yet some people throw their weight around just because they're wealthy. Her gaze shrank back as she looked at me, like someone who'd suffered unbearable injustice, mustering all her courage to confront me. I can't just stand by and watch Shichu lose his freedom because of others. Song Qianyue, Shichu truly doesn't like you. I'm begging you, stop using your money to force him to go with you. Okay, 13, TCH, true love indeed. Just a few words from them can sway public opinion. Somehow all the blame seems to have landed back on me. These days, wealth itself is treated as a sin, yet I clearly remember how she came sobbing to my father's secretary, begging for his financial support. How did it end up looking like we were the ones pressuring them? But I still underestimated how much Zhou Shichu loved Suyu. Instead of blaming her for the fraud, Zhou Shichu shielded her and said, I'm sorry, this is my fault. He bowed deeply to the camera, I'll return every penny. But as for Song Qianyue, he looked up at me with those same icy, indifferent eyes, as if I were the root of all evil. I'll uncover the truth behind the fire, he said, and make sure you rot in jail. That's hilarious. I laughed till tears streamed down my face. So he finally got around to investigating the fire. What a revelation. In the end, they still instinctively blamed me. The more I laughed, the more Suyu trembled. She clutched Zhou Shichu's arm tightly. Maybe we should just drop it. Song Qianyue is terrible, we can't stoop to her level, but what exactly have I done wrong? My downfall was being lovesick, foolish enough to believe Zhou Shichu ever cared for me. My smile vanished as my gaze turned icy. Zhou Shichu, you've got 1 month, fail to uncover the truth, and I'll have you jailed for defamation. 14. Free from media scrutiny, I threw myself into my studies, to quell public outrage. Suyu returned all the money, losing the Song family's financial support in the process. Orphaned and alone, Zhou Shichu became her sole remaining lifeline. She clung to Zhou Shichu daily, terrified someone might steal him away. Now also cut off from the Song family's patronage, Zhou had to support Suyu while juggling work and studies. That once brilliant golden boy Zhou Shichu has fallen so low he's working at a bar now. My close friends kept coming to me with embellished stories about him, laughing, pathetic. After years of living off the Song family's charity, he actually started believing he was some young master. Now he's serving drinks but still too proud to toast with customers. Hey, Song Qianyue, you should have seen it. That Song heir who's been chasing you threw a wad of cash on the floor and made Zhou pick it up. The look on his face was priceless, absolutely delicious. My friend nudged me. Wanna go to the bar tonight and see his miserable act for yourself? I shook my head, packing my bag. Not interested. Then she added, don't bother telling me about Zhou Shichu's affairs from now on. I couldn't care less about anyone, let alone watching Zhou Shichu's downfall. I just want to focus on myself and work on my own growth. With that, I grabbed my clutch and walked out. There stood a familiar figure at the doorway, after days apart. Zhou Shichu looked noticeably haggard, blocking the classroom entrance with a cold smirk. He said, Song Qianyue, don't flatter yourself thinking I owe you gratitude. I frowned, words still unspoken. He pressed on, feeling guilty now, afraid I'll uncover the truth. That's why you're defending me. Let me make this clear. I won't fall for your tricks. You rich people are all equally disgusting. 15. Oh. So that's the real reason for the hatred, across 2 lifetimes. I've kept wondering, what exactly did I do to deserve Zhou Shichu treating me this way? Now we finally have the answer. I looked up at him. Zhou Shichu, did I ever force you to accept the Song family's sponsorship? Zhou Shichu's expression remained unchanged. I know you have feelings for me. If I refused your financial support, you'd make things difficult for Suyu, wouldn't you? Just like how your so-called friends here have been harassing me. The moment he finished speaking, my friends couldn't hold back their curses. What the hell? Is this guy insane? If it weren't for that news report, we wouldn't even know who Suyu was, let alone that Song Qianyue had been quite